Now, you mentioned challenging subjects. I mean, so your mental health through this, Bradley. How is like since deciding and since being backed into that corner, deciding that I've got to make something of this? How has that journey been for you, and how's your mental health been through that?
Yeah, so I've actually been working with a mindset coach all year. I've called Thinking It Better, which you would have seen branded on my car. It's actually also one of my partners. So going back to making it work for a sponsor, this is part of that. So Ian, who I've been working with, the owner of the business, he's great. And from a mindset side, I've always been very, very good at dealing with that. I've been very, I'm quite strong-minded, and I've just been brought up like that. And I've just actually, I always relate this kind of topic back to the gym. And hear me out on that one. I've been training since I was karting. I from a very young age, I trained quite hard, whether that be cardiovascular fitness or weight fitness. And I always had a rule that always said that I would never, if I decided to do it, I would never not do it unless I
Mhm.
physically, unless I really hurt myself, which I don't want to do, touch wood, or I was poorly or something like that with a cold or whatever. Then I would consider to rest. But I would always do it and I'd always finish. That was always my rule, and there was no exception to that, none at all, unless of course, as I say, I hurt myself. And that mindset there. Kind of not only made me physically fit, which was kind of the point of it at the time.
Mm.
It was to make me physically, because if you go halfway through a run and you quit, that's you're not going to get as fit as you want to get. So, but what it did was it actually made me really mentally fit as well. Because when I was in so much pain physically, my mind would say stop, and I'd be going no way, not happening. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to finish this exercise. And that's kind of applied to everything. And I mean, I stay up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning working to make this happen. I don't
Yeah.
ever stop, and I will never stop until it doesn't happen. Then when it doesn't happen, I'll keep going anyway, and it will never, ever, ever beat me. It won't beat me. It won't beat me. And I think it works, and I think a lot of drivers feel the same way because naturally you are very competitive because that's the whole thing. It is a gladiatorial sport, and a lot of drivers are very good at continuing to push, certainly at this level, because as I said, it's a lot of money,
Mm.
and to make that happen, you've got to work really, really, really hard. So, yeah, you get times where it can become, from your mental health side, it can be challenging for sure, but it never beats me because at the end of the day, so what? It is what it is. If it's supposed to happen, it will, and if it doesn't happen, then work harder, and that's fine because you just keep working harder and harder and harder, and eventually it'll happen. And that's tried and proven because that's what we do. We work really, really hard, and it happens. So yeah, it's yeah, absolutely fine. Honestly, I know I sound like I'm not, but it's absolutely fine. And even when you're back right into a corner, you just got to fight your way out. You just got to find a way, get out of it, and move on to the next thing, whatever that happens to be. You just got to keep
No,
pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing.
no, it's brilliant. It's really motivating. I think it's something that people need to hear and people don't hear a lot of because you hear, I mean, especially like parents these days, and I've heard it going to schools. Like you hear people say like if you don't succeed, that's okay. I mean, it depends on what you don't succeed at. Like if you don't succeed at getting an A in maths, I wouldn't cry about it. But like if you're doing something you love and you don't succeed at it, it's important to remind them that you got to go again.
Absolutely,
You can't
you
just give
can't
up.
you can't just give up. And you know, I got to be a bit careful, but I have I without sounding big headed or anything like that. I have to fully believe in everything that I do. When you do it, you got to believe in it. If I've
Mm.
decided it to do it, I believe in it, and therefore I'm going with it. That's what's happening. And you get there is so many opinions and so many people around you that will straight away. I mean, thinking it better has made me so aware of it's the language that people use and the language that's said, and how things are said. It's the very, very small detail, and there's so many people want people to fail but don't publicly do that. And if since working with Thinking It Better, I've been able to really hear those triggers and understand when people like it because, hey, look, so what, because their belief is potentially that they couldn't do it themselves. Well, that's not true. We know they can do it themselves, but if their belief system is they can't do it themselves, people try and impart that belief system onto you, and you've got to remember that that's wrong. Like, believe in yourself because it can happen, and
Mm.
it will happen. It might not happen tomorrow, it might not happen this year, but it will happen if you really, really, really want it. But you've got to really want it, you've got to really work for it, and then it will happen. It just will. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what form of life you're in. If you want it enough, you'll get it. It's as simple as that. Keep going. It's great. Life's gladiatorial. You know, there are winners and there are losers. It's as simple as that. And the winners keep going.